Hey, welcome to our podcast, Project Brightside, where we always look on the bright side, even when things are looking pretty dark.
I'm Dr. Shelby.
And I'm Richard Brito, and we're your hosts for today's episode.
Topics of discussion for our podcast includes society and culture, education, and TV and film.
Each episode will have an interview of a guest speaker followed by a Bright Talk segment where we discuss a complicated topic in hopes of shining light on it.
For today's episode, we'll be interviewing our Chief Visual Arts and Branding Officer, John Scrivanich. Hi, John. How are you today?
I'm doing great and really excited to be here. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Super happy to have you.
Doing well. Thanks for coming on with us today.
Of
So,
course.
I guess to start off, our first question is just, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my name is John Scrivanich. I graduated actually with Richard and Luke from FSU, where I did my undergraduate. And then I moved away from Tallahassee. I've been down in Tampa area now since then. But I am the Chief Visual Arts and Branding Officer for Brightside Productions, and I've been here since the very beginning.
Really happy that you've been here from the beginning. You've also been really heavy lifting with the visuals, hence your title. You did this Project Brightside logo, which I'm obsessed with.
Me
I'm
too.
just happy to have you. So, what are 3 to 7 core values that describe who you are?
Yeah, I would say, this one was a little bit challenging for me. I feel like there's a lot that comes to mind just because I'm constantly
Yeah.
evolving and changing. But I feel like the ones that really stick out to me the best would definitely be my adaptability and just like willingness to learn, especially, and my eagerness to learn. Those two I feel like are really essential to who I am and really drive me every single day. But also, I tend to think that every moment and chance I have, I tend to be as compassionate as possible and very empathetic with others. Very much kind of a walk a mile in someone else's shoes kind of guy, or I really try to be. But yeah, those tend to really be, I think, the core values for me. I could go into even more with probably the next one being like more like bravery and courage. But yeah, no, for sure, those are my core values.
I love your answers. It's spot on for sure.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. I guess next, I know this is kind of a difficult question as well, so we're starting off tough, but one is, what do you aspire to do in life?
Yeah, no, it definitely was a hard question when I was pondering about it. But no, definitely. There's so many things I want to do. I feel like I tend to be a little bit of a jack of all trades, but I just really aspire to just leave a really strong, lasting, positive impact on everyone I meet and just the earth as a whole. I just hope that no matter what I do in every aspect of life, professional, personal, I want to make sure that I'm leaving a lasting impact that's remembered past me and something that will be towards the greater good and help not just me but the people around me.
You've honestly been consistent with that in your kindness and viewpoint of the world because you've always stood by what's right. You've always had that kindness in you and throughout all these years you've maintained that and elevated it. So it's just really nice to hear you say this all out loud. Um
Thank, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's taken a while for me to I think have the acceptance, self acceptance to really give myself the my own compassion back. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and you've gotten really good at articulating all of it.
It reminds me of a quote from, I think it's from Mother Teresa or Saint Teresa of Lisieux. I can't remember which, but it's like do small things with like great love, and to just put like your full like passion and joy into like all of the small things you do throughout your life, and that's one way to make like a great impact. So it reminded me of that.
Yeah. Every small act, it all comes together for sure. So I definitely wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah, and something I agree with is that the acts of kindness you give come back tenfold. I don't know. I
Hmm.
believe that. I think if you are a kind person, life will I mean not always be beautifully perfect. There are ups and downs. There is a roller
For
coaster to
sure.
life, but there is a bigger picture and I think at the end of the day if you're a nice person, good things will happen to you.
I
So,
sure hope so.
yeah. Next question is, so what does your leadership experience consist of?
Yeah. So I feel like my leadership experiences, all over the board, I feel like I just tend to naturally kind of gravitate towards leadership roles. Both when I was, more academically, in school, uh, and all the way, towards now, professionally in every career that I've had. But yeah, no, truly, it's just something I enjoy is help leading others and working with a team. Um, whether it's, a group of like-minded individuals or whether, I'm that kind of foundation for a bunch of people with different thoughts and different opinions and being the one to help kind of center those thoughts and bringing, the man to come bring everyone together and help separate that divide or bring it closer, I guess.
Yeah,
But
and with your role, what's really interesting is that you have background in psychology and sociology, like in your undergrad, and
absolutely.
tying all those aspects into the visual aspects, and just branding uh, really is super powerful and a valuable skill. So
Yeah, for sure. Like learning, I think, yeah, understanding how we work individually, but also how we work, as a society, where we think, as a whole and as, an individual. So it's really cool when it comes into part in, branding, marketing, and our visual arts and graphics. It's really exciting when it works out.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
That's awesome. I guess kind of going off of that in terms of using your psychology and sociology background, what would you say your leadership philosophy and style is?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My leadership philosophy, I feel like, is just to be a supportive and encouraging person and kind of sounding board for those I'm helping to lead, and just making sure the environment that we're in is also matching that same energy. I just think it helps everyone to feel heard, appreciated, and to most importantly, just be able to lift each other up with the different experiences we have, and offer some value and guidance however we can. Sometimes leaders come in the most least expected individuals, so sometimes a leader is learning from someone that they're leading as well. So
That's
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
that's really good insight. And it leads into the next question. I'm curious to what you'll say. What would you say are the keys to success?
yeah, yeah, also a difficult one. I feel like something
Yes,
I'm
definitely.
always trying to learn myself. I feel like it's constantly changing. But the main ones that I have found, for finding success is just to be able to maintain that sort of determination and perseverance, regardless of what's going on. It's having that dedication and drive that helps motivate you to move forward, even when you have those tough days. So if you're able to just constantly just keep that in the rearview mirror kind of and not let, just the small hiccups, take over and see that bigger picture, it tends to really, really help. So I tend to say just really focusing on my determination and drive and making sure that that's my number one mindset.
That's good. That's good. It's your mental fuel, that dedication,
Exactly.
yeah, and determination.
The next question is what challenges have you faced in the past as a leader?
So I've definitely had my fair share. I feel like of challenges in the past, and I think they've helped both mold me into the leader I've become today. But as a leader specifically, some challenges I've faced, I feel like just being able to remain, accountable for not just yourself, but the others that you're leading, and just making sure to maintain not just your own motivation, but the motivation of the group, and making sure we're all, working together and towards that same goal, is always really important. But again, kind of very much in mind with I feel like my philosophy and everything like that is just maintaining a positive outlook. I think that the energy and outlook that you have definitely exudes and flows off to the others around you. So negative energy is something that will definitely creep into others' minds just as much as anything else. So it's always good to just maintain as positive of an outlook as you can, because it's really going
Beautifully
to affect
said.
others.
Definitely all psychological and social
Oh
work
yeah.
practices that you're like talking about. I love it. And it's 100% accurate.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you.
So, what are the costs of assuming a leadership role?
Yeah, so this one honestly was quite a challenge to answer just because I feel like I was mentioning earlier, I naturally tend to gravitate towards that leadership role.
Hmm.
So I've never really looked at it as having a cost just because to me it just seems like second nature. But I guess one of the main costs and one that I guess you seem to think of as a leader is just that there's going to be an added pressure and an added responsibility no matter what every single time you're taking on a little bit more accountability for not just you but others. It's just a little bit more pressure on those shoulders, but, thankfully, I've got some broad shoulders, so I've been able to carry a little bit and learn along the way for sure, but yeah, no, I think it's mainly that, and then learning how to adapt to that the new obligations you might have or the new responsibilities you need to account for and manage your time for. That's what I'm still learning and still trying to do my best with, but we're constantly evolving every day, so
Yeah, and it's about getting better every day and not having judgment, engaging in
Mhm,
mindfulness and, just learning from your mistakes or learning
of
from your
course.
experiences and just improving. And I think you're doing great. So,
Thank you, thank you.
That's awesome. I love the broad shoulders comment.
yes.
Right. You gotta have them, absolutely. If you
Yeah,
can't, you
like
gotta
throwing
learn how to
some
roll with
comedy
the
in there.
stress, right? Oh, you gotta be lighthearted every day.
So I guess on the flip side of that, and this may be an easier question for you, but what do you think the benefits are of assuming a leadership role?
Yeah, yeah. So I think the immediate benefit is just having a what I would call a slightly louder voice in the room, or being able to just have a little bit more um pull and direction for not just yourself and others, but it really allows you to hone your creativity and the goals that you set for yourself.
Mhm.
At least that's something that I've found, especially through the bright side too. I've learned so many new skills and just really helped push myself to hone my previous skills too and get better. So it's I think taking leadership roles really help you to grow faster too. I think
Yeah.
faster than maybe you were initially comfortable with, but it's always a really, really good opportunity. I think I've never ever once regretted having any sort of leadership role or moving into any sort of way I can help others below, like move up as well. So
That makes me really happy to hear. And I
yeah,
agree. I feel the same way, honestly. With leadership. With my master's, I was considering, social leadership. That was like my
hmm
track, and then I just like pivoted last minute because I felt like I had learned most of what I needed, but I needed to learn
yeah,
more clinical stuff. So then that's when I pivoted. But I
hmm
resonate with what you say about leadership and the different avenues. I'm not as artistic as you. That's where I lack, but
oh,
I
I
think
think you
that's
are.
but that's such a valuable skill that you have. And I'm glad that you're talking about it and sharing it because it shows how you're not just stuck with one avenue, but you open up different avenues,
Oh
and you
yeah.
focus on that. So
Yeah, and I think that one, one thing that you excel at always will help you grow in other areas of life. I tend to think, my creative abilities has definitely helped me just see the larger picture a lot of the time, or just from other, vantage points, their perspectives, just really being able to see not just, option one, two, and three, but being able to be more abstract about it. So yeah,
yeah,
I love being creative about just about anything. It's always good to look at it from more than one angle.
yeah, and it helps to not be rigid because you're being so creative and there's so many opportunities to what you could do that it just sort of forces you to look at the bigger picture. And I love that about art.
Oh yeah.
So what advice would you offer others that are seeking to develop their leadership potential?
Yeah, yeah, no, so, this might play off a little bit from what I was saying earlier, but my main advice is to just go for it. I think that one of my main things looking back, going into leadership roles is that I think I was, really getting in my own way a lot of the time, and just because of, my own anxieties and pressures and things like that I was putting on myself. Maybe I'm not gonna be the best leader, or maybe, I might lead people the wrong way or say something wrong to someone, and those anxieties creep in, I think, naturally for especially any great leader or any good
Hmm.
leader. If you didn't have those anxieties, I think maybe you're not ready to be a leader. So I think that it was naturally something that was normal for me to feel. But yeah, no, I think that just going for it and really putting yourself in that role, you grow so much and evolve into something that maybe you weren't expecting. Um, but yeah, it's never something I regret because, like I said, I've learned so much and I'm a better person for it. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's pushed you past your comfort zone. Um,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's when you truly grow. I feel like if you always stay in your comfort zone, you're never really gonna um be able to learn what you don't already know.
Hmm.
Um, you're never gonna go past that, closed door. So I think that really being able to rise up into a leadership role allows you to guide not only yourself, but others. And like I was saying earlier, you learn from others too. So just while you're leading those people, they lead you in a way.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and you're having to adapt and elevate to meet the standards of what's being asked. And then on top of that, you're having to like guide others and also not just be the know-it-all and also hear their feedback and implement. And I see you do that, and your answers have been great. And
Yeah, that's
um,
awesome. I feel like I'm like the quote person today, but I
that's
it
okay.
also I honestly think I saw this on TikTok, but I saw a quote the other day that was like, if you're not a little bit embarrassed or a little bit nervous, you're starting too late. And I think that's so true. Like I think it's
Hmm.
really natural to be nervous or like even a little bit embarrassed, like the first
Oh
time
yeah,
something like a podcast or first time in a leadership role and or like reaching out with a new brand or a new project. And so I think that kind of speaks to what you just talked about, like kind of moving out of your comfort zone and growing from that.
hmm
I think that's so important to remember.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I feel like it's always gonna naturally just be a part of like the experience. Like if you're presenting, like or preparing for a presentation, there's always gonna be that anticipation and a little bit of anxiety.
So we'll go ahead and move into our Bright Talk topic for today, which is personal experiences on overcoming obstacles and adversity through adaptability and positivity. So John, you picked this as your topic today, which I think is such an important one to speak on. I just wanted to hear a little bit about, what challenges you've kind of overcome and why this topic is important to you.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, this is something that I think is so core to who I am, just because, like, I have overcome I might not look like it, but I definitely have overcome my fair share of obstacles and different, adversity, but mainly referring to just, I grew up with a very, uh, interesting medical history that led to quite a few different surgeries at a really young age. And those health issues really really also led to other different struggles too, including bullying that came from some of those different surgeries and things that were out of my control, as a really young kid. And it was frustrating and unfair, which kind of led to my anxieties and not knowing how to trust my body when it was failing me already, at such a young age. And so I feel like that alone really is like something that I carry with me to this day. It's something that I survived back then, and something that I still am surviving today, but something that I'm much stronger for because of. So that's mainly where I was starting with that. But
I mean, that's really strong. You got me emotional, honestly, because that's a whole I mean, I've been bullied before and I've struggled, but to have physical, surgeries and to have to go through, things like that, that's just harsh. And I'm just really glad that you came out the other side better, that you weren't like swallowed by all that pain or trauma that you've experienced. And you articulated it in a very positive light. So that's why I got
thank you.
emotional.
So I have Kipple syndrome. It's like a genetic abnormality of your bones and organs. But I didn't find out about it until I was 14, and a girl was pushed into the pool while I was swimming in the pool, and she fell on my head, and my spinal column went through my skull and into my brain. And so they
Oh,
had to do yeah, like emergency reconstructive surgery because I had roaming temporary paralysis. So
mm,
whether whether it was a hiccup, whether it was a cough, whether it was a bump in a car, while I was waiting to have that surgery for about a month, I was, going paralyzed for hours at a time. And
well, I'm
they had
sorry.
to do crazy surgery to get it all back together. But yeah, here I am, to talk another day. So
I am so happy you turned out to be such a wonderful person and that you like turned out okay. Like
thank
that
you.
that's
Thank you.
harsh. That's really harsh because I've had so many traumas and I've had so many ups and downs with my mental health. But then on top of that, to add like, I mean, I was in a car accident. I know you were in a car accident too.
Oh God,
So
yeah. That
like,
that was almost more traumatic, yeah.
yeah, but then on top of that, you've had all these things growing up. So I'm just like, I'm glad that you're good. I'm glad that you've overcome this and that you haven't changed like for the worse, only for the better. So thank you so much for
There's
sharing
a
that.
I think a thing I learned, obviously I learned it in undergrad, but I think it's well, I'm really reaching back here now. I think it's called the dandelion theory or dandelion method or something in psychology. The even a
Hmm.
weed growing in, the worst environment and the worst kind of pressures will still grow and create, a flower. And so
Yeah,
that's kind of like something that I carried with me, even though, while I was learning to work through my anxieties and work through that trauma, that I was doing probably a lot of that when I was in undergrad, to be honest, and learning my own psychology. Um, but yeah, no, it's something that I think about a lot, and so I try to be that dandelion,
that's good. That's so
Uh,
beautiful. I like your
yeah.
metaphors.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely hold them dear. But I just tend to think that yeah, no, I had the family I needed, I had the role models that I needed, and the leaders around me that I needed, and yeah, what I would say is one of the darkest points of my life. But like we say here, the we're trying to bring the bright talk out of it. So
Hmm.
the dark times come, but they don't stay forever. So I think it's a cool way to think about it. Here in Florida, especially, with the rain. I was gonna say summertime. Uh, just because you're stuck in a rainy day, or maybe it's been a rainy season, doesn't mean that it's not gonna the sun's not gonna come back out. Whether you need to wait a little bit longer, or maybe you need to just, you know, get in the car and drive to a new sunny spot. I was gonna say you'll be able to grow from it. You'll be able to adapt, and you'll be able to continue living that life, even though if there's some painful days ahead or some painful days behind you. It's part of our journey, and I think it's part of something that teaches you. And if you're able to keep that positive outlook and keep that positive attitude as you move forward each day, then you treat it like a gift. You treat it like something that's special and earned.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. And a lot of what you're saying is cognitive restructuring.
Mhm.
Changing that negative self-talk or negative experiences that are ruminating in your head, um, and turning it into a positive light. That's very important, and it's used in cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mhm.
And a lot of what we ruminate in our heads and the pressure that we have could, lead to stress. And if we have that constantly, it could lead to chronic stress. And
Oh
then
yeah.
that all of that just manifests into other, conditions, that could be disorders and whatnot. And it all stems from like your thought processes, and
Mhm.
cognitive restructuring is so important because if you change the way you think, you change the way you act. And if you change
Oh
the way
yeah.
you act, you change your outcomes. So everything that you're saying is like very rooted in psychology, and I'm glad that you've had so support systems and that you've really prioritized your physical and mental well-being. I'm proud of you. I'm really proud.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. It wasn't a one-step process to get here, but no, I'm glad, one, that psychology degree is paying off, and two,
Yes.
that yeah, I'm where I'm at today. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey, like I said, but one that I'm thankful for and grateful for.
I did want to ask you, you said you had a lot of support systems and people, you know, aiding you, but what when did you see the shift of like when you started actually seeing your mental health improving? Was it from the
Yeah.
support system or was it something
So
more?
Yeah, so I truly think that my support system, helped me get through that, that one year, the year where I was, in and out of hospitals. It was very, a almost out of body experience, just kind of going through the motions. But yeah, I had to develop, different coping mechanisms in order to stay strong through that. I think they got me through it physically, but yeah, no, afterwards there was a lot of repairing that needed to be done, both, mentally and physically. And my main thing that kept me going, was mind over matter, and was to just, keep moving forward. But yeah, no, so I developed my own sort of coping mechanism, not only to carry through, the physical ailment, but also to just stay steadfast with my passions and the things that I still adored. I was in soccer at the time, and in fact, I kept with it even after that for probably another 8 years or so. But um, after that, I turned, that whole year of being in and out of hospitals into a passion for science and medicine specifically, and my creativity was able to blossom a little bit more because I maybe wasn't on the soccer field as much as I could have been that year because of that ailment. So I turned things like that into something that I was able to, um, be a little bit more positive from, rather than just dwell in the moment of what I was going through and the neck brace that I was wearing and the surgery that wasn't making me feel the best. Um, but it's easy to give into those bullies and easy to give into that pain. And going to school maybe wasn't the the easiest thing either, during that moment. But um, you make do, you make it through, and I think that I was very lucky because I have a twin sister, so I had a support system right there in school as well. So, um, but yeah, it's something that has helped me continue to grow, and my aspirations have grown because of it as well.
I'm really glad to hear that. And I'm glad that your twin sister has been a really strong support system.
Oh yeah. It's kinda hard not to be, I feel like, you come into the world together, you gotta stick together in this world too. So, she's definitely been a trivial part of my journey, from day one,
That's
and still
awesome.
is. It's probably my favorite thing about me, to be honest, being a twin and being able to share that special, bond with her.
If you don't mind me asking, throughout your surgeries and throughout your experiences, recovering and whatnot, and having your support system there, what did you tell yourself to get you through it? Aside from, the core values that you've talked about, what was the reoccurring theme?
Yeah, I think it was just that there was so many, so many people and science telling me what I couldn't do or what I would not be able to do because of my, the surgeries I was going to have and the specific, injuries and ailment that I, was experiencing. And so I just really wanted to prove my medical odds wrong, that I I would walk again really quickly, and I would, recover really quickly, and that I wouldn't let this sort of stop in the road, really deter me and who I was and what I wanted. And the same thing went for those same people at school and the kids who maybe felt like they could, pick on me or bully me because I was unable to, in a sense, fight back or to take care of myself. And so I think that, you know, I was able to create different goals for myself because of how hard it was. I don't know what that saying is, but like the the rough stone creates the diamond or something like that. But like I think that I was really put under a lot of pressure, and
Yeah.
therefore I had a lot of goals come out of it because um, there's a lot of ruminating going on, and I had nothing else to do but to think of what I'll be when I heal, when I get back to school, when I get walking again. And so, that's mainly what was really going on through my mind and healing and just really trying to put the pain out of my mind too. So it was a lot of just keeping busy and a lot of keeping going, just because if I stopped for too long, I might have, let that pain, let that depression creep in a little bit too quickly, too much.
You mentioned having a strong support system and kind of having this time to reflect. And while I think those both probably did have an impact, I think you need to give yourself credit too, because it's really easy to kind of get stuck in those thoughts, especially when you have a lot of time to think about it. And I see a lot of people in the hospital that are, battling different things that are going on
Mhm.
that aren't able to kind of adapt and have that mindset that you had. So I think, definitely give yourself credit for that too, because that's
Yeah. Yeah, super,
Yeah,
super
no, thank
important.
you.
The fact that you were so wise at such a young age, like implementing, cognitive restructuring, essentially what you were doing. You were catching what people were saying, you were checking to see if it were true or not by challenging it. And there's the change. Like
Mhm.
engaging in that change. And it really does highlight like the magnificent ability of the body, mind and body to heal.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, people give a certain, is it prognosis? Yeah, prognosis or
Mhm.
diagnosis, and they give their, estimated timeline for how this disease might unfold, and it doesn't happen that way. Not saying that they don't know,
Oh,
but
yeah.
there's just so many unique cases. The general public might react a certain way, but there are those outliers. And I
And
do believe in post-traumatic growth. So, and resilience. So like resilience is, going back to a state that you were once at after a trauma.
mhm,
And then post-traumatic growth is exceeding the state you were in after the trauma. So, you've mentioned a lot of those elements, resilience and post-traumatic growth. Um, and that's something that I have like really embodied in mostly college and onward.
mhm,
I was very chaotic, and didn't really have, I mean, I was very stubborn, so like I did want to prove people wrong. And I
yeah,
still am to an extent, but I didn't have that cognitive restructuring with like that. Sometimes I would face the darkness too long, and that's what would
oh
keep
yeah.
me. Yeah.
Now, I can't say I've always been I guess, adept at being able to restructure everything like that. It has taken many years of practice and just making sure that, I was keeping my mental health in check. So I think, it was definitely not always that easy, but I've come a long way.
I'm
It's
glad.
been
I'm
many,
proud of
many
you.
years now, but yeah, thank you. But and back to the goals too, I feel like, in that moment, kind of like what you were saying, like I had, one goal, my prognosis, from my doctor was to, get walking, get out of bed again kind of thing. And they were giving me these week long, almost month long prognosis for how long that was going to take. And I was just so honed in on not sitting there in that hospital bed for that long. And I made it out in 5 days. So after that, I mean, it was, many, many, many months and years of physical therapy after that. But, I was at least on my feet again after 5 days. And I was so excited because I hit that goal. And then so from there, it shifted to my next goal was to be able to get through my first round of physical therapy and to start to get those anxieties under control from when when my body was doing things that I couldn't control and I was
Yeah.
I felt out of control and and I still carry that with me, working one goal at a time, whether they're small, whether they're big, whether they're life altering. I think it allows you to focus and to create that drive and to learn your passions a little bit better going one at a time. But now today my goals have changed lately, so now I well, it might not be surgery related anymore, I still deal with that pain every day, so I still focus on that, and working on that, but now it's larger than that and larger than me now, my goals, and I try to think about that more and more and how far I've come to allow myself to have goals that can be bigger than me.
All right. So thank you so much for an insightful interview and Bright Talk segment. It was great having you on. With the conclusion of this episode, that is a wrap to our Owners Edition, which is the season 1 of our podcast, Project Brightside. Our next episode will be the start of season 2. We will have guest speakers each episode and have a Bright Talk segment after each interview. We will be taking the month of July to prepare for the launch of season 2. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting us. Make sure to recommend our podcast to your friends and family. Until next time, take care.
Episode 8 was executive produced by Richard Brito, Shelby Flohr, Luke Riosti, John Scrivanich, Andres Gil Irana, Zoe Rushetsky, Jake Riosti, and Sophia Paez. Music by Jake Riosti. Edited by Luke Riosti and Richard Brito.